Okay, Kuntres Avoda, people. An awesome work. And I gave a share on this about a week or two ago. And my attempt now at continuing. Don't remember exactly where I left off, but I review it every time I learn this. I mean, like when I sit with it daily or every second day, I start from the beginning and I go through the whole thing. I read it like a story that you have to start at the beginning, else you can't really appreciate the middle if you're not there right from the beginning. So I like to review it often, every day, every time I learn it, I mean. So it starts off in Kuntres Avoda with the two missions of davening, of tefillah. What are you supposed to accomplish? What is the goal of tefillah? It gives two different missions. So the first one is for your soul to cleave to God. And we'll explain what that is. That's the beginning of this book, of this work. It goes into explaining how you accomplish that, which is kind of important to know. Because if you want to know, if Einon Milvada, if there's only God, you kind of want to know how to connect to God. It's a little bit important. The other thing is, it's almost one's on the positive and one's on the negative. So the positive, you want your soul to cleave to God. The negative is you don't want your nefesh habahamis to interfere. So how do you refine your nefesh habahamis? Your animal instincts, what your predilections are, that just happen to be your character. Doesn't have to be bad. Just gonna get some air in here. Open the windows to the sunny climate today, or weather rather. Okay, so the beginning of this kuntres speaks about cleaving to God with your soul. Later we're going to talk about making your character not be such a personality that interferes with this process. How do you allow your soul to be transparent in you as a person? A person is made up of a soul and a body. And the soul desires to cleave to God. The body, if you're going to have transparency and allow that soul to do that, it can't have the body and your personality interfere with that. So that's the refining of the animal side, which we'll speak about later. So first, to begin with, how do you connect your soul to God? Firstly, what is your soul? We know, in essence, I've been speaking about this at length in my other videos, what the soul is, how it's a yearning for God. In essence, it is an expression of godliness because God creates it. God speaks and it comes into being. So at the very breath of Hashem is the soul. And that is a consciousness. I mean, we're using metaphors, we're talking about speech, but essentially it is a consciousness. That God speaks and there's a consciousness that comes into being. And that's you. Or the whole world, if you want to make an aggregate of all consciousness. That's the whole world. That's God's creation. So your soul is actually made up of 4 or 5 levels, depending how we're counting. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. How many is that? Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. We got 5 right there, but there's actually a 6th. That's what I meant to say. There's the essence of the soul, which is usually synonymous with the Yechida, the unified aspect of your soul with God. The Yechida is what contains the Etzem and Neshama, which is one with the Nitzutz of Elikus. The Nitzutz of Elikus is basically synonymous with the essence of your soul. There's a spark of godliness, which is an expression of godliness, and that first appears in the essence of your soul. And then there's different layers pertaining to different levels of consciousnesses. So they're real things. They're not something, if people teach you this, they're leading you on the wrong path. When we talk about Atzilus, for example, the highest of the worlds, it's not something that's beyond our reach. Firstly, we say it's right here, meaning that spiritual means by definition it doesn't occupy a particular material, physical space. So it's spiritual in that sense. But Atzilus is a state of mind. It's pertaining to, in the simplest way of looking at it, it's being totally immersed in the zone. It's when you're, whatever you are, a hockey player, an artist, a musician, a speaker, whatever you do when you're in the zone and you're not thinking about, what am I going to do now? Wouldn't it be nice if I shoot the puck a certain way? Or if you're a speaker, to say an idea in a certain way, or you have an image of how you should do it. No, you're just flowing. The problem with flowing is you're liable to lose your train of thought, because the whole idea of being in flow is that you're going out of yourself. So Atzilus, we're starting at the highest, that's a really smart place to start. Atzilus is where you go out of yourself. There's nothing of you to speak about, but you're in your truest state. The people who are most expressive of what their potential is are those people who get in the zone and succeed, because once you're in the zone, you do succeed. It's just the way it is. It is success. It's the conquering of the world. When you're in the zone, I used to play hockey a lot. My kids play hockey. So hockey's a really good metaphor for me about being in the zone, because you cannot score if you're not in the zone. You can get a lucky goal, fine. But to really make a clutch goal, you have to be in the zone. You're not really thinking about yourself at all. So that's Atzilus. We're going to start at the lowest end of the spectrum in this Kuntres Avoda, in understanding how the soul connects to God through prayer. It's a process of elevation of these levels of the soul. We're not going to speak about Chai and Yechida, because the top two aspects of the soul, because Chai and Yechida are super conscious. They're subconscious in a way, but that makes it sound lower. Sub means below. They're super consciousness. Their states, Chaya is the state of being hungry, expressing a hunger for something and wanting that. There's still a you that wants, but it's a very powerful desire to be there. And as we know from the Baal Shem Tov's teaching, when you want something, you're there in a sense. Your essence is already there. You're already accomplished the goal once you set out on the goal. So Chaya, and then Yechida is self-sacrifice, going beyond yourself, being in the zone. But what are the lower levels? That's the davening pertains to the lower aspects of ourselves, the parts of us that we have control over. Ultimately, to achieve those higher states, or to not even achieve them, because it's not a conscious thing. To go, once you reach neshama, we're going to see once we talk about neshama, the third level of the soul, you already reach such a high level that it's hard to imagine anything higher. So really, in terms of conscious pursuit of getting close to God, there's only 3 levels that we have control over, but those affect and resonate on the higher levels too. It brings out those qualities that we become more in touch, in tune with them, and more affected by them. Okay, so we start with the nefesh, and maybe we're going to end with the nefesh today because it's getting late. So we start with the nefesh. The nefesh is the aspect of our souls, and we mentioned this one in the introductory video about this, but the nefesh is haidah. It is the world of, what am I going to subscribe to? Even if you're a big card-carrying member of a political party or a religion or something, when you say card-carrying, you have to prove that you believe in its tenets, because you are not consciously feeling it at the moment. So you hold the card to remind yourself. Haidah, submission, acceptance, subscribing to a system of belief and wanting that, holding that dear to you as something that you recognize as an ideal and you want to pursue those goals. Expressed in this mimer is kach yasa lahen. It's said in the plural. That is good for you, so you accept these principles. And it's described as a heskem, meaning I resolve that this is going to be things I value. That's the level of nefesh. It's a haidah, submission. In tefillah, it's represented from the first moment of waking up. The first action you do, rather, when you wake up, is you sit up, put your hands together, you lower your head in embodying a position of submitting before God. And you say those words, Modeh ani lefanecha, I submit to you, recognizing Hashem as being Melech, our king. And we're not our own king. Hey, Chris, careful, long time. We're not our own king because you subscribe to something that you want to represent you as king. That's called a shame, a name. In Hebrew, it's called shem. Shem. It's a name. A name is what we represent, what we subscribe to. So that's it's not a core feeling that's felt. It is an idea that we subscribe to. That's nefesh, submission, modeh ani. It goes all the way to Baruch Shamar. When you start the Psukah de Zimra, the praises of God in that part of Jewish prayer, you enter a different level. That's the level of Ruach. Oh, so just to generally describe what's this process, why are we describing the levels of the soul? Why do we bother to define them all? If it's anyways a ladder that you have to progress, it's not relevant with the ladder, but really the ladder is the whole point. It's because tefillah, prayer, is described as a ladder. So you start in a lower state of consciousness and you want to make that state of consciousness resemble the higher level. You make it resemble it and ultimately to be transformed into that, which doesn't mean that it doesn't exist anymore. You don't have that part of you. It's gone. You lopped it off. It's not a part of you anymore. No, it is a part of you, but it's completely transparent now and at a higher level. So your submission becomes heartfelt excitement or enthusiasm or appreciation, some type of emotion, not just an intellectual plan of what's good for you, or a to-do list, or a priority list, or a bucket list, but rather something that you're experiencing now emotionally and appreciating its worth to you. That's Ruach, which we'll speak about Be'ezras Hashem next time in next class on Kuntres Avoda. We're going to be reviewing this every time because that's the way I learn it. Start from the beginning every time. We'll just rush through the beginning each time a little bit faster. So I hope you enjoyed it and have a great day, everyone. Bye.